Welcome back to the GSMC Baseball Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. I'm your host, Sam Menzie, and we have a great show for you today. First topic we'll be covering is going to be talking about the games from yesterday, involving both the American League and the National League. Then we'll be moving into the news that Jordan Montgomery has dropped Scott Boras as his agent. And finally, we'll be talking about some other news stories around the league, just some minor ones I wanted to recap. Now, before we do that, I'd like to ask you to please like and follow the show. We do get a number of questions from viewers, so to ensure that your question does get read in the air, please use the link gsmcpodcast.net. It really does help the show, and it really does mean a lot, so thank you so much for that. And let's get into the stream for today. All right, so we're going to be starting off the stream as we usually do, which is just recapping the action from baseball yesterday, all the games that happened. So, let's get straight into it. So we'll be doing the American League games first, and the first game we'll be talking about is going to be Astros and Royals. All right, so going into the scoring here, the bottom of the third, we have the Royals opening it up with a Vinny Pasquantino RBI double, scoring Kyle Isbell and Bobby Witt Jr., making it 2-0 Royals in the bottom of the third. Same inning, Nelson Velasquez had a really nice breakout season with the Royals so far. An RBI single, scoring 2 to make it 4-0. An Adam Frazier RBI single to make it 5-0. And a Hunter Renfroe RBI double to make it 7-0 Kansas City, all in the bottom of the third. So a great job by this Kansas City offense to get on track early, take advantage of this Astros pitching staff that is kind of weak right now. And yeah, just a really nice job by this offense. Royals have been really impressive so far. Now, the game isn't over, as in the top of the fourth, Yainer Diaz with an RBI double, scoring Alex Redmond, making it 7-1. Then Jose Abreu would hit a sacrifice fly to make it 7-2. Bottom of the fourth, Vinny Pasquantino would add another run for the Royals, making it 8-2. He would then do it the same in the bottom of the sixth with an RBI sacrifice fly to make it 9-2. Garrett Hampson would then make it 10-2 with an RBI double, and you guessed it, Vinny Pasquantino would hit a RBI single to make it 11-2 Kansas City, what the score would end up being. So a great game by Kansas City to beat a really nice Astros team. I mean, they just demolished them. 11-2 is insane. So, yeah, great job by them. Overall, yeah, just a great game. Nothing else to say there. The Astros had Spencer Arrighetti going, who went 3 innings, giving up 7 earned runs, 3 walks, 3 strikeouts. I mean, look, I talked about it yesterday, but the Astros have a lot of pitching problems, and if you're going to rely on these kind of guys, they have to perform. And so far, the guys that they are counting on to replace the stars that they have lost the injured list, and it's just the injury in general, are not performing. So the Astros, I think, have a pitching problem right now. I think it's pretty clear, and we're going to be definitely interested in seeing what does happen with them and seeing where their pitching staff does go from here. For the Royals, they had Seth Lugo on the mound, who was great. 7 innings pitched, 7 hits, 2 earned runs, 2 walks, 2 strikeouts, 1.45 ERA in the season. So a great job by the Royals to beat a great Astros team still. And yeah, they're looking really, really nice so far to start the season. Going to the next game here, we have Twins-Dodgers. Starting off in the top of the first, we have a Teoscar Hernandez RBI double, scoring Mookie Betts, making it 1-0 Dodgers in the top of the first. Eduardo Julian would answer right back with a home run himself to make it 1-1. Byron Buxton in the bottom of the third would break up the tie with an RBI single, scoring Eduardo Julian to make it 2-1 Minnesota in the bottom of the third. Max Muncy would tie up the game to make it 2-2 in the top 4, and then in the bottom 5, Eduardo Julian again would come through his second home run of the game, third of the season, making it 3-2 Minnesota, where the score would end up staying. And so a really nice win by Minnesota. You know, have been a little underwhelming to start the season, only at 4-6, but beating a really great Dodgers team is a great step forward, and one of their better hitters, who's young, Eduardo Julian, coming through like that is a really positive sign. For the Dodgers, they had Bobby Miller on the mound, who went 4 innings pitched, 5 hits, 2 earned runs, 3 walks, 4 strikeouts. Not exactly what you want, but only gave up 2 earned runs, only went 4 innings, of course, so not a perfect start, but could have been a lot worse, I guess, especially considering this Twins offense is really good in my opinion. So, yeah, just something to work on, I'd say, for the future. The Twins had Chris Paddock on the mound, who was also okay, 4 2/3, 2 earned runs, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts. Now, of course, you want your pitchers to go deeper into games. That's why I'm not saying it's a great start, because it isn't. You want them to go deeper into games. It's just the fact is they aren't right now, and you need them to. So that's something to watch out for, seeing what does happen with these pitchers and seeing what is going to happen with their innings and how deep they do go into games. Next game we'll be talking about is going to be a game that went into extra innings, Mariners-Blue Jays. Top third, we had J.P. Crawford opening up the scoring for the game with a RBI single to make it 1-0 Seattle. Then, bottom of the seventh, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. would tie it up with a home run himself, making it 1-1. Then, top of the 10th, we would have Kyle Raleigh breaking up this tie, going into extras with a 2-run home run, making it 3-1 Seattle. Then Ty France would hit a double. Mitch Haniger would hit an RBI single to make it 6-1. So, as soon as extra innings came up, the Mariners would blow the doors off, making it 6-1, a 5-run lead. The Blue Jays would not score after that, and the Mariners would end up winning this game 6-1. Much closer than the score looks, but unfortunate job by the Blue Jays bullpen to blow this game. They had Yusei Kikuchi on the mound against his former team. 6 innings pitched, 3 hits, 1 earned run, 9 strikeouts, only 2 walks. Really nice start by him. Really great start to the season as well. So, yeah, that's really good. For the Blue Jays, Tim Mayza was really the guy who gave up the game, going a 3rd innings pitched, giving up 3 earned runs. Then Mitch White also went in, who also gave up an earned run in 2/3, finishing off the inning Mayza started. So, yeah, their bullpen definitely needs to be better if they want to compete, especially right now for the Blue Jays. The Mariners had Logan Gilbert on the mound. Gilbert went 7 2/3, giving up 5 hits, one earned run, 8 strikeouts. So really, really strong start by Gilbert. Some of the other young pitchers in this Mariners rotation that I've been really high on have kind of been struggling. So the fact that you have Gilbert out there who is able to have a great start like this, I think is really intriguing and really just good for the team right now. So yeah, that's a big positive sign. Next game we have is Rays-Angels. Going to the top of the first here, a wild pitch by Jose Soriano would score Yandy Diaz and Randy Arozarena. This is in the top of the first, so a nice job by the Rays to score this early, even though it wasn't really their making. It was a wild pitch. So after that, we had Isaac Paredes hitting a sacrifice fly to Joe Adell, making it 3-0. Top of the second, Jose Caballero would add on, hitting his first home run as a Ray, making it 4-0. Angels would attempt to come back a little bit, as in the bottom of the fourth, Zach Neto would hit an RBI single, and in the bottom of the sixth, Joe Adell would hit his first home run of the season, making it 4-2. But they would squander any other opportunity to score, and they would end up losing this game 4-2. And a really nice job by the Rays to win this game, get back over 500. Angels now are dead even at 500, where the Rays were yesterday. So, yeah, just a nice job by the Rays. They've been struggling a little bit, but to be able to beat this Angels team in this way is a really nice game by them. And, just something positive to look out for the future. The Rays did have Zach Littell on the mound, who went 4 1/3 innings, giving up 6 hits, only 1 earned run, 3 walks, 4 strikeouts. So a decent start by him, nothing too amazing, but wasn't horrible as well, definitely not. For the Angels, they had Jose Soriano on the mound, as I said before. 4 innings pitched, 6 hits, 4 earned runs, no walks, 6 strikeouts. Really strong start by him, even though it was only 4 innings. Actually, I apologize. I don't know why I said that. It is not a strong start by him. My brain saw the 6 strikeouts and no walks. I was like, ooh, great start. No, not a great start. 4 innings pitched, 6 hits, 4 earned runs. Not a good start. I understand the Rays' offense is good, but if you're going to give up 4 earned runs, you at least need to go deeper into games. So, yeah, just not a positive start there. You definitely need him to improve more if he wants to be a big part of your future as a team. Next game we have is going to be White Sox Guardians, a continuation of this series AL Central matchup. Top of the first, Gavin Sheets would open up the scoring of the game, making it 1-0 with an RBI double. Same inning, Andrew Benintendi would be caught stealing second base, but Gavin Sheets would score on it, so not a double steal, but the kind of diversion worked out. So nice job by the White Sox and Pedro Grifol, their manager, to pull that off. Top of the third, Gavin Sheets would add on to the White Sox scoring with his second home run of the year, making it 5-0. So a really strong game by Gavin Sheets, a really strong outing for him. Josh Naylor would get the Guardians on the board with a solo home run, his third of the year, making it 5-1. And Bo Naylor would hit a 2-run home run himself to make it 5-3. So nice job by the Guardians to come back. Yesterday was also National Siblings Day, so the fact that Josh Naylor and Bo Naylor hit home runs in the same inning on National Siblings Day is pretty cool. I mean, they're one of the better siblings duos in baseball, probably history at this point. I mean, yes, they haven't been in the league that long, but they're both going to be really good players, and there's not many siblings duos anyways. So, yeah, I mean, really strong game by them, and nice job to do this. It's a really cool thing. Going back to the game now, bottom of the fifth, Stephen Kwan would hit his second home run of the year, making it 5-4. So the Guardians would be within a run, and they would tie up the game with a hit-by pitch with the bases loaded on David Fry, making it 5-5. Top of the 10th, Gavin Sheets would hit a RBI double, scoring Lenny Sosa to make it 6-5 Chicago. So nice job scoring in extra innings by them. Josh Naylor would tie up the game on an RBI double in the bottom of the 10th to make it 6-6. And what do you know? Bo Naylor would hit an RBI single to win the game on National Siblings Day for the Guardians, where him and his brother hit a home run in the same inning, and then him and his brother would score the only runs in extra innings to help them win the game. So a really, really cool thing for this game. A really exciting game as well, and a really nice storyline here with the siblings. So, yeah, you definitely want to see more of this in baseball. That's really, really cool. And watching these guys develop over the years now is going to be really exciting. Hopefully they stay on the same team. It's a really, really cool story. For the Guardians, they had Tanner Bybee on the mound, who is not good, going 5 1/3, 6 innings, 5 1/3, 6 hits allowed, 5 earned runs, 3 walks, 2 strikeouts. Not good at all, especially against a White Sox offense that is not good. So if the Guardians want to continue to compete, especially now with the Bieber injury, you need guys like Bybee to come in handy and be really clutch, and this was just not a start for that, so you definitely need him to improve as the season does go on. For the White Sox, they had Eric Fetty on the mound, who went 5 innings pitched, 4 hits, 4 earned runs, and 3 walks, 3 strikeouts, 3 home runs. So an interesting start by him. Wasn't that bad. It wasn't good, but it wasn't that bad. And Fetty's trying to still find his mark back, after coming over from overseas. So you take it with a grain of salt right now, but still not a great start. Next game we have on the agenda is going to be Orioles-Red Sox, another divisional matchup. Bottom of the third, we have Tyler O'Neill opening up the scoring with a RBI single, scoring Jarren Duran. After that, bottom of the fourth, we would have Connor Wong hitting an RBI single to score Tristan Casas and Romy Gonzalez to make it 3-0 Boston. Bottom of the fifth, we would have Tristan Casas hitting a home run, second home run of the year, 2-run homer, scoring Rafael Devers to make it 5-0 Boston. So a really nice job by this Red Sox offense to go ahead this early, but the Orioles would come back as a Colton Cowser RBI single would score 2, making it 5-2 in the top of the sixth. And then Jackson Holliday, in his first MLB game, gets his first RBI, hitting an RBI groundout to score Colton Cowser, making it 5-3. Would not get a hit this game in his MLB debut, but still got an RBI, still showed great poise at the plate, played good defense, good speed, of course. So definitely going to be future star in this league. Only the first game, but I think we all know this already. Top of the seventh now, we had a wild pitch by Chris Martin, scoring Ryan O'Hearn, making it 5-4 Boston. And then the big blow would come in the top of the seventh. The full comeback would ensue for the Orioles as a Jordan Westerberg 3-run home run will make it 7-5. I mean, what a job by the Orioles to come back against the Red Sox, who have been red hot. So, yeah, just a great job by this young, great team. For the Orioles, they had Cole Irvin on the mound, who was kind of just mediocre. 5 innings pitched, 5 earned runs, 3 walks, 4 strikeouts. Not good, but not horrible, I guess. I mean, the Red Sox are a good offense, but definitely want more. Not a great start. For the Red Sox, they had Cutter Crawford on the mound, going 5 innings pitched, 2 hits, no earned runs, 4 walks, and 6 strikeouts. So, great job by Cutter Crawford against this good Orioles lineup. He only went a little bit into the game, but still a nice job. Final game we have is another divisional matchup, so a lot of these in this week or so. Tyler Nevin, it would be A's Rangers, sorry. Tyler Nevin, the newest Oakland A, would hit an RBI single, scoring Abraham Toro, making it 1-0 Oakland in the top of the first. Nice job to get ahead of the scoring there. Josh Smith would tie up the game with an RBI single, scoring Evan Carter, and then Jonah Heim would hit an RBI single himself to score Adolis Garcia and Josh Smith to make it 3-1. Bottom of the fourth, Marcus Semien with an RBI double, making it 4-1, and Adolis Garcia with an RBI single to make it 6-1, all in the same inning, the bottom of the fourth. Zach Gelof would hit his second home run of the year, making it 6-2 in the top of the eighth, but the A's would not come back and would end up losing to the defending world champion Rangers. For the A's, they had Ross Stripling on the mound, who was not good, going 6 innings, giving up 11 hits, 6 earned runs, 3 walks, 5 strikeouts. Yes, almost 6 ERA in the season now so far. Not a great season at all for him, especially being on the A's. I mean, the Rangers have a good lineup, but not how you want to start the season. For the Rangers, they had Cody Bradford on the mound, who was surprisingly really good. 6 2/3, giving up 5 hits, 1 run, none earned, 1 walk, 7 strikeouts. Yes, it's the A's, but having Bradford perform like this is really, really enthusing. And I was not a believer when they said they moved into the rotation, but Ray's proved me wrong with that start. So for Rangers fans' sake, hopefully he can continue doing that. All right, so those are the AL games of yesterday. We're moving on to our second segment, which is going to be talking about the NL games of yesterday. So, you see the correlation there. So we'll go to our second segment, and we'll see you after that. So, thanks, and bye.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
I wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown, get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits. I'm losing shit, a stupid myth. You choose to live or choose to dip. You choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind?
All right, we're back here on the GSMC Baseball Podcast, bringing you our second segment. Before we do that, I would like to ask you again to please like and follow the show. We do get a number of questions from viewers, so to ensure that your question does get run in the air, please use the link GSMCpodcast.net. Really does help the show, really does help everyone here at the network, so thank you so much for that. And let's get straight into our second segment of the day. All right, so we're going to be recapping the NL games of yesterday. We just did the AL, so it only makes sense to do the NL, so we'll talk about it. There is currently one game going on right now, the Mets game. It's an absolute blowout, which good for me. I'm a Mets fan, very happy about that. But I'm going to be recapping it for tomorrow's show because there's only 5 games tomorrow, and I would like to be able to talk about them in a segment. So, we'll be recapping that game tomorrow, so we will not be talking about it at the end of this segment. But, the Mets game is on right now. It's a blowout. Go Mets. Very exciting, and glad to win a series against the Braves, but we'll talk about it tomorrow. First, for the first NL game we have on the agenda is going to be a continuation of the Phillies-Cardinals series. Top of the first, scoring opens up with a JT Realmuto fielding error thing, reaching on a fielding error. I worded that wrong when I started to come out of it. So, reached on a fielding error by Victor Scott. That would score Kyle Schwarber to make a 1-0 Phillies in the top of the first. Alec Bohm went an RBI single, scoring Realmuto, so nice job by the Phillies to capitalize off that error and make it 2-0 in the top of the first. Ivan Herrera would hit a solo home run, his third of the year, to make it 2-1 Phillies in the bottom of the second, so nice job by him to get one of those runs back. And Brendan Donovan would tie up the game with a solo home run himself, his second of the year, to make it 2-2. Jumping to the top of the sixth now, we would have Brandon Marsh hit an RBI single to score JT Realmuto to make it 3-2, and a Nick Castellanos RBI single to make it 4-2. So nice job by the Phillies to get those 2 runs back that the Cardinals just tied the game up with. The Cardinals in the bottom of the eighth would get a Nolan Arenado. I just said Nolan RBI. Nolan Arenado RBI single to score Wilson Contreras to make it 4-3. Unfortunately, the Cardinals would not score any more runs, and that would be all she wrote, as the game would end up being 4-3 Phillies. They would win the battle of the red teams. For the Phillies, they had Aaron Nola on the mound, who went 6 innings, giving up 3 hits, 2 earned runs, 3 strikeouts, 3 walks, 2 home runs. So kind of an interesting start for him, but only gave up 2 runs, only gave up 3 hits. So kind of got bit by the long ball, but still a quality start by him. I think any person would take that any day. So, definitely a nice start by Nola. For the Cardinals, they had Lance Lynn on the mound, who was okay, had an interesting game, going 5 innings, only giving up 1 run, but giving up 2 runs. None were earned, though, because of the error by Victor Scott. So, had 4 walks as well, but 6 strikeouts. So a really interesting game by Lynn. Only gave up no earned runs, but gave up 2 runs, only 1 hit, 4 walks, but 6 strikeouts, and only went 5 innings. So not a start I think any Cardinals fan would like to see again, but it definitely wasn't horrible, so it's not awful, so I guess you can't be that mad about it. Next game we will have on the agenda is going to be another divisional matchup. So many for this week's slate of games. It is going to be Rockies Diamondbacks. Sorry, I didn't tell you what it was first. First, top of the first, we have Lourdes Gurriel Jr. hitting an RBI single to score Corbin Carroll to make it 1-0 Arizona. Bottom of the first, Eleuteris Montero would tie up the game, making it 1-1 with an RBI single to left fielder Lourdes Gurriel Jr., scoring Ezequiel Tovar, making it 1-1. Top of the second, we would have Blaze Alexander hitting a solo home run, his second of the year, to make it 2-1 Arizona. Bottom of the fourth, Michael Toglia of the Rockies, of course, would hit a 2-run home run, his third of the year, to make it 3-2 Rockies and give them the lead. Unfortunately, they would not get any more after that, as the Diamondbacks would come back with a Lourdes Gurriel Jr. RBI double to make it 3-3, and then a Eugenio Suarez RBI double as well to make it 5-3. So a nice job by the Diamondbacks to come back against this bad Rockies team, win this game. I mean, any game against the Rockies, no offense, should be won. They are not a good baseball team whatsoever, so really nice job by them. For the Rockies, they had on the mound Austin Gomber, 6 innings pitched, 6 hits, 2 1-runs, 2 walks, 4 strikeouts, 4.91 ERA in the season, which isn't that horrible for his standards, especially also being in Coors. So not a horrible season so far, but definitely not a positive one. For the Diamondbacks, they did have Tommy Henry on the mound. He went 5 innings pitched, giving up only 4 hits, 3 runs, 2 earned, 3 walks, 6 strikeouts. So not a bad start, only giving up 2 earned over 5. But again, you want pitchers to go deeper into games. I understand that they just don't do that as much anymore, but I still would like them to. And I think it's still a big part of the game that they should be able to. So, yeah, just my 2 cents about that there. Next, we have Nationals-Giants. Giants hopefully looking to not get swept against the Nationals. Top of the second, the Nationals would open up the scoring with a Joey Gallo home run, his third of the year for the Nationals. He's had a really strong start to the season so far. Doing that classic Votto thing, his average under 200, but his OPS said 800, 3 home runs, 4 RBIs, even a stolen base in there. So it's really interesting to see if Gallo can get back to the ways of the old. I don't expect him to ever be back to that Texas Rangers Joey Gallo, but he could still be a really solid player, and we're definitely looking to see that. Bottom of the second, Nick Ahmed would tie up the game with an RBI triple, scoring Matt Chapman. Tyler Fitzgerald would give the Giants the lead with a RBI single, making it 2-1, and an Austin Slater RBI single would give them the lead by 2, making it 3-1 in San Francisco. Bottom of the fifth, Wilmer Flores would hit a sacrifice fly, making it 4-1. Mike Conforto would hit a RBI single to make it 5-1, both in the bottom of the fifth. So the former Mets coming through for the Giants in this inning. Then in the bottom of the sixth, Nick Ahmed would hit an RBI single, and Lamont Wade would do the same, making it 7-1. So the Nationals would score early, but would not score after that, as they would end up losing this game to the Giants, who would avoid getting swept. So nice job of the Giants to come back with this series and finally win a game against the big bad Nationals. Being sarcastic, obviously. For the Nationals, they did have Patrick Corbin on the mound. 5 2/3, 11 hits, 7 earned runs, no walks, 2 strikeouts. 8.44 ERA in the season. Nationals fans, you only got a few more months till he's gone. 1 year left in his contract. He won you a World Series, was off till after that. You're free from his contract soon, okay? You don't have to worry, and everything's going to be okay with his contract. So, yeah, you're just waiting it out at this point. For the Giants, they had Jordan Hicks on the mound. 6 innings pitched, 4 hits, 1 earned run, 2 walks, 2 strikeouts, 1 ERA in the season. I mean, the Giants have somehow transformed Jordan Hicks into a really good starting pitcher, which is super scary for the league. I mean, if this guy can throw like he's throwing and be a consistent starting pitcher, it would be really, really impressive by the Giants to be able to do that. The really big thing for me here is the 2 walks. Only 2 walks over 6 innings is really a nice job done by Jordan Hicks. Of course, as a reliever, as a flamethrower, he always gives up walks. I mean, he's a reliever who throws hard. Of course he does. So, that's really the biggest key there for me, looking at that, seeing that he only gave up 2 walks. So really nice job by the Giants to be able to kind of redevelop him like that, and good job by Hicks to be able to be a really good starting pitcher. And we'll see if that sticks for the rest of the season. Bottom of the second, for the next game we have on the agenda, which is going to be Padres-Cubs, we have Luis Campusano hitting an RBI single to score Jurickson Profar, making the game 1-0 Padres at the start of the bottom of the second to open up the game. Jackson Merrill would hit a RBI ground out to score Ha-Seong Kim, making it 2-0 San Diego. Top of the fourth, Michael Busch would tie it up, making it 2-2 with his second home run of the year, scoring Christopher Morel. Bottom of the fourth, Jurickson Profar, who's had a really nice season back with the Padres, makes it 3-2 with an RBI double, scoring Manny Machado. Same inning, Luis Campusano would ground out softly to shortstop Dansby Swanson, which would score Ha-Seong Kim to make it 4-2 San Diego. Then the Padres would just run away with the game. Bottom of the sixth, Jake Cronenworth, second home run of the year, a solo home run to make it 5-2. Jurickson Profar, second home run of the year, 2-run shot, making it 7-2. Jurickson Profar RBI single, Jose Azucar RBI single, and Fernando Tatis Jr. RBI single, making it 10-2 Padres at the end of the eighth, and that is where the score would end up staying. So, yeah, an interesting start to the season by both these teams now. Padres are 7-8, and the Cubs are 7-5. So we'll see how these two teams keep going for the year, but it's definitely looking interesting for their seasons right now. For the Cubs, they had Kyle Hendricks on the mound, who went 5 innings, giving up 7 earned runs. So not a good start by him at all. He might be running out of gas for his career right now. He's getting older, so we'll see what happens with him. For the Padres, they did have Dylan Cease on the mound, who was phenomenal, going 6 innings, giving up 0 earned runs, 2 runs, but none earned, 2 walks, 7 strikeouts, a home run, 2.16 ERA in the season. Really, really great season by him so far. Just a really great job. The next game on the agenda we are going to have is talking about, let me find it. There we go. It is going to be Brewers-Reds. So that is the next game. Another divisional matchup. Insane. Top of the first here, Christian Yelich would hit a 2-run home run, his 5th of the year, making it 2-0 Milwaukee to start off with. Jackson Chourio would hit an RBI single to make it 3-0 Milwaukee. And then William Contreras would hit an RBI single himself to make it 5-0. And then Jackson Chourio would hit a sacrifice fly to make it 6-0 Milwaukee, all by the top of the fourth. So they're, the stars of the Brewers are coming together and scoring runs for them. Christian Yelich, Jackson Chourio, William Contreras. Chourio's been looking like a big leaguer already, so really nice job by this Brewers offense to come through and be really good. The bottom of the fourth, the Reds would hit a RBI single to make it 6-1. Getting themselves on the board. Ellie De La Cruz with his 3rd home run of the season, making it 6-2. But the Brewers would hit another insurance run, making it 7-2, with a Blake Perkins solo home run, where the game would end up staying, and the Brewers would end up winning 7-2 against their rival Reds. For the Reds on the mound, they had Hunter Greene, who was less than stellar, going 6 innings, giving up 6 hits, 7 runs, 6 earned, 1 walk, 9 strikeouts, I guess, which is good, but still not a good start by him, going 6 innings, giving up 6 earned, a run per inning. So definitely not good, and definitely not what you want from a guy who you have at the top of your rotation. For the Brewers, they had Wade Miley on the mound, who was decent, only going 4, but in that 4 he was great, only giving up 1 hit, 1 earned run, 2 walks. So yeah, really interesting start by him. Again, only went a little bit, but still a nice start. Final game we have on the agenda for the NL is going to be Marlins-Yankees, a interleague game. But as I said, for whatever team wins, I put it for that league. So I guess you know who won now. At the top of the third, we had Luis Arias hitting an RBI single to score Nick Gordon to open up scoring 1-0 Marlins in the top third. Jake Berger would hit a 3-run home run, a big shot, making it 4-0 Miami. Giancarlo Stanton would hit a home run against his former team, which would lock in hitting a home run against every single team in his career, which is a really great accomplishment by him. Congrats. His years with the Yankees haven't been the best, but he was one of the premier sluggers in this league for a long time and still has that within him. So really nice job by Stanton, and congratulations to him. For the bottom of the eighth, we would have Juan Soto hitting an RBI double, making it 4-2. And then in the top of the ninth, Nick Fortes would add some insurance on it, with making it 5-2 after reaching on a fielding error by Anthony Volpe. So the Marlins would end up getting their 2nd win of the season, moving to 2-11. So maybe they're World Series bound after getting their 2nd win of the season. Who knows? For the Yankees, they had Stroman on the mound, who was okay, going 5 innings, giving up 4 earned runs, 4 walks, 7 strikeouts, and a homer. Not what you want to see against the Marlins, but not a horrible start. So I think you just want to see him rebound next time. It's not a huge deal. For the Marlins, they had Ryan Weathers on the mound. 5 innings pitched, 3 hits, no 1 runs, 3 walks, and a strikeout. Really strong start by him against this great Yankees lineup. If I was a Marlins fan, I'd be happy with how he performed. It was a really, really nice outing and a really nice start for him. So good job there. All right, so those were all the NL games and AL games of yesterday. Those were our first 2 segments. So that is it. We'll be going into our third segment here, which is going to be talking about Scott Boras and Jordan Montgomery and, just that whole situation, which I'll explain more after the break. So, we'll see you then. And, bye. Thanks.
Looking for your daily fix of sports talk without having to pay for it? GSMC Sports Network is available on YouTube. Just search GSMC Sports Network. Get your fix of daily sports talk shows on YouTube, absolutely free. NFL, college football, NBA, MLB, MMA, UFC, fantasy football, and so much more. GSMC Sports Network has shows running all day long, with new sports shows starting every 2 hours. Just like on your favorite cable sports channel, except GSMC Sports Network is absolutely free. Just search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube to catch one of your new favorite shows, like the GSMC College Football Podcast, Chip Shot Football Podcast, Hoops and Heels Women's Sports Podcast, GSMC Basketball Podcast, and so many more. Check it out for yourself. GSMC Sports Network, now available on YouTube absolutely free. Search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube right now.
And we are back here on the GSMC Baseball Podcast, bringing you our third segment, which is going to be talking about the Scott Boras situation involving him and now his former client, Jordan Montgomery. So, let's get straight into it. So, the news that broke earlier today was that Jordan Montgomery, a guy who was represented by Scott Boras, I believe, his whole career, dropped him in favor of Wasserman. Now, usually this would be a non-story, as people drop agents all the time. Changes in financial situations, what you want out of a contract, disagreements, stuff like that. It's kind of common nature, not just in baseball, but in sports as well, to, drop an agent or make a change. It's really not a big deal. But this was very interesting timing, as Montgomery, was a free agent this offseason, of course, was projected by a lot of people, including myself, to get a really big contract, maybe 5 to 7 years, something along the lines of 20 to 30 million AAV. And instead had to settle for a 1-year contract worth $25 million with the Diamondbacks. He was part of that illustrious Boras 4, who all had to wait out long terms on the big market. And it's just interesting now that after that, I'll say it, fumble by Scott Boras, he fumbled the bag. He fumbled the bag. After that, it's interesting to see that Montgomery did fire him and move on from him to go to Wasserman. Now, how do I explain this? So for the Boras 4, in my personal opinion, I understood why all those guys were still out in there in the market. I thought there were a lot of question marks with these guys. Now for the three, the Montgomery, of course, you had Bellinger, who had some really bad seasons with the Dodgers, and then came to the Cubs and had a great season. But I think a lot of teams were thinking, I don't want to give this guy a long-term contract because he could be a one-year wonder. Coming back all of those horrible seasons after winning MVP from the Dodgers. And he didn't really hit the ball hard last year. I don't think he's going to sustain his performance from last year, and I would agree with that. I don't think a team should have gave Cody Bellinger a long-term contract, and they didn't. So I don't see a problem with that. I think there were holes in Bellinger's market. The same with Chapman. Chapman was a great defender, but at the same time was a very streaky hitter. Some days just did not hit at all. So I was like, okay, I understand that as well. I understand teams not wanting to give him a long-term contract. I understand why he got a short-term contract there with the Giants. Blake Snell, I also understood. I understood that, teams are going to say, okay, look, he's a 2-time Cy Young winner. Yes, he's won the Cy Young twice. That's not something to cough at all. That's a great thing. But the years he doesn't win the Cy Young, he's a pretty mediocre to below average pitcher. A guy who doesn't go deep into games, that walks a lot of people, gives up a lot of runs. So I understood, again, why teams were a little skeptical to give him a long-term contract. So I understood that, and I didn't really blame Boras for it. But the one thing I always was kind of a little surprised with was Montgomery. I didn't think there was that many problems with Montgomery's market. I thought he was a pretty consistent pitcher, a guy who had proven himself last year as a guy who can perform in the playoffs, be just a really good pitcher. And it was surprising to me that he had to settle for a 1-year deal. I thought there were a lot of teams involved in his market. I thought the Yankees were, the Red Sox especially were, the Angels, the Phillies, and then you have to settle for a 1-year contract from the Diamondbacks. It felt weird to me. And of all of them, that one was the one that really made me, scratch my head and say, okay, what are you doing, Boras? Like, what is that? How you couldn't get a long-term contract from Montgomery? That one was strange to me. I won't lie. That one kind of took me off. That one took me by surprise, I will say. So I think now Montgomery is giving into that and saying, you know what? You're right. Why did I get a short-term contract? The whole reason someone signs with Scott Boras is to get as much money as possible. Scott Boras does not take hometown discounts unless a player asks him to. And when you're with Boras, you're probably not asking for a hometown discount. You probably want to get the most money possible. And now I'm fully fine with that. You are a baseball player. You're a professional athlete. You work hard. You want to earn as much money as possible. You want to get there on the free agent market. You don't know when your next paycheck will be. You want to take the most money possible. Go ahead. That is completely fine with me. Should be completely fine with anyone. Take the most money. You work hard for it. Good for you. But when you sign with Scott, so that's what happens when you sign with Scott Boras. So you only sign with him to get a big contract. There's really no other reason because Boras is a master at that. Former Marlins general manager David Sampson has a great clip from his podcast talking about what would happen and when you deal with Scott Boras in a contract negotiation. It's a really, really informative. So just look up either on social media or on YouTube, David Sampson, Scott Boras. It's something that I think would be really interesting to a lot of baseball fans, see how Boras does work and how he does end up getting these contracts. So that's why I think Monty did drop Boras, because he's saying, look, I hired you to do one thing, get me the most money possible. And instead you settle for a one-year contract. Now, $25 million, nothing to cough at. Believe me, I'd be a happy man if someone gave me $25 million. But for a guy who in Montgomery who's probably expecting 100 plus, 25 is kind of a slap in the face. And you have to look at your agency there. You have to look at Boras saying, you're the guy who gets everyone big contracts, but you couldn't do it with me. You couldn't get one from me. So it is interesting that he did drop him, and he is hiring Wasserman, a rising agency in the field. They've gotten a lot of young stars over the past few years now. And I think Montgomery's seeing that. And I think there could potentially be a way here that you say, okay, you know what? For once, Boras might actually be regressing. Boras might not be the Scott Boras we all know and love. Don't we all love Scott Boras, huh? There might actually be a way that's possible. And I think Montgomery could have potentially seen that. So it'll be interesting to see if there is an effect with Scott Boras now for the future. If something does happen with his future and his future clients as well. I mean, going to next year, first of all, you have Juan Soto. What's going to happen with Soto now? Is Soto going to get the most money available? I think he will. I mean, he's Juan Soto. As a Mets fan, I'd have the Mets throw $800 million at Soto. I think he's that good. I do. So I don't think Soto will be affected there. But other guys like, first of all, Pete Alonso. Alonso was an older first baseman, and first basemen don't really tend to age well. Alonso's kind of regressed over the past year or so. Not regressed that he sucks, but regressed in the way of he's not as good as he once was in his rookie season. So, is he going to be penalized by being represented by Scott Boras, who has not gotten that long-term contract now in probably a year for one of his big clients? Is Alex Bregman, who's represented by Scott Boras, going to be affected, who is also 30, and maybe teams don't want to give a long-term contract to him? So it's going to be really, really interesting to watch Boras in the future now, seeing what does happen with him and his clients, if teams do hold this against him and clients do hold this against him, and if his reign of terror is over in the MLB. I think Monty dropping him could be one of the first big blows to him, and there could potentially be a lot more people dropping him. If Snell, if Chapman, if Bellinger are really mad at Boras, they could also drop him, and I think that would be a big blow to him. Now, I also think, of course, just owners are sick and tired of dealing with the Scott Boras, chamber of death, the torture chamber, where he skins every owner and every general manager for every single dollar they have alive. They don't like the techniques he used. They're sick of him. And I think you're seeing now that teams are very unwilling nowadays to give Boras the same type of leeway that he's had before, the same type of the same type of edge he's had before as an agent. So it's going to be interesting to now see if his future clients are affected, if he keeps getting the money he can, and if owners are able to get clients from him, or they're just going to stand by and say, no, we're not dealing with you. We're done with your shenanigans. We're done with what you do. And it is going to be something to watch. And I think Monty dropping him could potentially be the last straw for Boras and his future. But maybe I'm overreacting. It's definitely possible. But it is super just intriguing to me that Monty didn't get the contract he wanted. And then a few weeks left after getting that contract, he drops Boras for Wasserman. He might have even dropped Boras before and then just got hired with Wasserman now. So I think there could potentially be some anger there. If Montgomery's angry, Chapman could be angry, Bellinger could be angry, Snell could be angry, and some of the future clients could drop him as well. So, I think Scott Boras might be on the last legs right now. Of course, he has Soto, Bregman, and Alonso next year, among other people. So I think next year is going to really be the big one. I think Pete Alonso is going to be one to watch. I think a lot of teams are not going to be willing to give Alonso that big contract because he is an older first baseman and he is represented by Scott Boras. So I kind of think Alonso is the representation for what's going on with Boras right now and what could happen with him. So yeah, definitely something to watch and definitely something to see about Boras, his future, and his future clients as well now, to just see what the situation is and see if there is any more news with him. I had a segment before a few months ago about the Boras 4 and people kind of being mad about Boras and owners not wanting to do business with him anymore. I do think that is one of the big things, that they're just sick and tired of what he pulls, of how he gets his money, and I don't think a lot of people like him. So yeah, definitely going to be an interesting situation to watch for Boras, for Montgomery, and seeing what does happen next with this whole thing. So yeah, definitely something to see and definitely something to watch as the season does unfold and as the offseason especially does unfold. Seeing if his clients are penalized for having Boras, and if Boras can't pull his old tricks that he could. I think he'll be fine with Soto. I think he'll be fine with Bregman. But again, I think Alonso and the situation he finds himself in is going to be very, very interesting to watch in the offseason, and really interesting to see what does happen and what happens with Alonso in the end. So yeah, that's something I'm personally watching, and even more as a Mets fan, and seeing what does happen there. I think he'll be fine, but again, if there was one person to be penalized, I think it would be Alonso. I mean, if you told me at the start of last year, at the start of the offseason this year, that Snell, Montgomery, Chapman, and Bellinger would all sign 1 to 3 year deals, I'd look at you like you were insane. So I think anything can happen in baseball right now, and with how polarizing Scott Boras is, nothing really surprises me about him anymore. But there could be a day that we see his reign of terror end over baseball, and see someone else taking a hold and seeing new things happen. So yeah. All right, so that was the end of my segment 3 here, talking about Scott Boras and the situations involving him. We're going to go to our final segment here, which is talking about some news around the league, just some other general minor news stories I did want to touch upon before we end our show today. So yeah, there's the final segment, and we'll talk about it next. So thanks, and see you after the third break. Bye. Thanks.
For the best and latest podcasts available anywhere, go to the podcast app on your cell phone and type in GSMC to access free content-rich podcasts on health and wellness, book reviews, sports, entertainment, relationships, social media, movies, technology, finance, and even weird news. Subscribe and download the GSMC Podcast Network's family of shows, available everywhere podcasts are found.
All right, we are back here on the GSMC Baseball Podcast, bringing you our fourth and final segment today, which is going to be recapping some more minor news around the league, just some minor stories that I did want to touch upon. We usually do this at the end of the show if there are a lot of transactions that happened that I think were notable. So yeah, so the first one I did want to talk about was, of course, one of the biggest stories of the entire baseball year. But I've already made a few segments on it, and again, as I said before, it's more of a legal situation than a baseball situation. To me, it's a legal situation that happens to have a baseball player in the center of it. So I didn't really want to make a full segment on it, but I did want to give an update. So as of now, you can probably imagine that I am talking about the Shohei Ohtani, Ippei Muzahara situation. Muzahara, of course, his former translator for the Dodgers for a short time and for the Angels for a long time. Very good friends as well. So we have an update on the situation now. So the full update is that Muzahara is pleading guilty to a bunch of fraud charges, according to the feds. Apparently, according to them, he scammed Ohtani out of $16 million for sports betting, which is just unfathomable. Apparently, some of the answers we have had before about this situation have been answered, which is Ohtani is he using Ippei as a scapegoat? Is he involved? Is he completely a victim? And the answer is he is completely a victim, according to the FBI. There was no record at all of him doing anything illegal. He was victim A in this indictment and this case. So obviously Ohtani is completely cleared, as it looks like now from the FBI, that he was not in the wrongdoing. He was a full victim, and Muzahara was a con man who scammed him out of a lot of money. Allegedly, I want to say this is all alleged. Actually, I don't know if it's alleged, actually. I'm just going to say that to make sure, but he is pleading guilty, as I believe, so that is what we know as of right now, that he is we knew he was intoxicably guilty, and these are apparently the charges and all that, so yeah. It's definitely a really sad situation seeing these two guys who are really, really good friends over the years be broken up like this over a legal situation where someone used the other one for their own personal gain, and kind of being a con man, and just it really is sad. Ohtani seems like a very nice guy, seems like one of the better guys in baseball, keeps his head down, doesn't really care about this kind of stuff, and then it happens to him. So it just is an unfortunate situation that Ohtani's really great friend and co-worker was able to take advantage of him like this. One of the big questions I had about the case was, how do you not notice $4 million being taken away from your bank account? And now we know it was actually $16 million, so how do you not notice that? From what we know, Muzahara changed the settings in his bank account to not give him notifications when money was taken out, and when he called the banks to take out loans, he pretended to be Ohtani, so that is how he got the money out of it without alerting Ohtani. So yeah, this is definitely a really sad situation all around. It's just a really unfortunate one that kind of puts a damper over baseball and a damper over what was supposed to be a great start in Los Angeles for Shohei Ohtani. So yeah, it is unfortunate, but there's always big sports stories. So yeah. Going to some more regular baseball news now, and it's kind of, I guess, happier news because that was kind of depressing. First, we have Brandon Lau. He will be placed on the injured list by the Rays for 10 days. Now, not a huge deal as it's only 10 days, but of course, there is always the chance that his injury gets developed more and he gets hurt more. The Rays right now are kind of just mediocre, and they're not really doing as well as I think the Rays can, because they are the Rays. They know what they're doing. They're a great organization. So I think having one of your starters go on the injured list is unfortunate and not something you want right now. Again, it's only 10 days. The injury, it doesn't seem to be that big. So, it's definitely going to be interesting to see. He has a right oblique strain, which is what I was trying to look for. So oblique strains are never good, but I also don't think they're something that is going to really developed into something major further. So that is the situation there with Lau and the Rays. It is interesting now, could they call up Junior Camarino, one of the top prospects in baseball, to fill in for Lau's position at second base? I would have had him on the MLB roster anyways, but they know more about him than me. So we'll definitely see what has to happen there with Camarino and the Rays, but I think this could open up a window for him to come up. I don't think he will, but I think there's a possibility because he does play second base, and he would get full reps there. So yeah, that's going to be something interesting to watch and interesting to see, but just gonna be interesting to watch how, I keep saying interesting, I apologize, but this stuff is interesting, to see how Lau's injury does affect the Rays and their lineup, and just them being kind of mediocre right now. So, yeah, that is something I do want to see and want to see how it does affect the Rays as the season does go on. Some other second base news, we have Colton Wong agreeing to a contract with the Arizona Diamondbacks for a minor league deal. I think this is good depth of the Diamondbacks. You've lost a lot at your shortstop position, losing Jordan Lawler, then losing his backup, Geraldo Perdomo. Now, of course, Wong isn't a shortstop. He is a second baseman, but he is middle infield depth, and with one of your youngsters, Blaze Alexander, going over to play shortstop for most likely the majority of the year now until Perdomo and Lawler are back not hurt, he probably is going to play short, and you now have Wong, who can potentially fill in at second, fill in at third, maybe even at short if you really get desperate. But I just overall think it is a good veteran depth signing because, you have lost so much, and I think Wong showed a little bit with the Dodgers last year. I don't think has much left with the bat, but knows how to take fine at bats, is a really good defender, bring good veteran leadership. So overall, I think it's a really nice signing by the Diamondbacks. I think it makes a lot of sense for where they are with their team right now, and just overall is a good move by them. Jefferson Cuero, one of the top prospects in baseball, one of the top Brewers prospects, is out for the year. He is having season-ending surgery. Now, not a huge blow to the Brewers, as I don't really think Cuero was on the way to going to the big leagues this year. I didn't think that he was going to help the Brewers this year immediately. So I don't think, again, it's something that affects them now, but it is going to be something to watch in the future to see if this injury does affect him starting next year, going into the future. He is a really good catcher prospect. He's a guy I'm really watching for the future. It's going to be fun to see how his career develops. And with this young Brewers core of a lot of great hitters, a lot of great players in general, I think Cuero is one of the guys they are watching. So, yeah, it's going to be something to watch now to see how his career does unfold and how this injury does affect him. I don't think it should be that big of a deal, but at the same time, crazier things have happened. So whenever a top prospect does get hurt and does remain out for the year, it is something to watch. And we'll see what happens with Cuero next year and seeing if he does make the major leagues. I think once he does come up, he'll be the Brewers' starting catcher. You'll probably move William Contreras to DH, or even you can get a little more fancy and move him to a different position. I think Contreras is a great hitter, a really elite hitter, but I just don't think he's a catcher long term. So I think Cuero provides some stability at that position once he does come up, and you can move Contreras to full-time DH, maybe even first base or somewhere else. But so you have the flexibility there. And hey, if you think Contreras is a full-time catcher, you can keep him there. You can trade Cuero for something else that you think is more valuable. So it's going to be interesting to watch and something to see as the seasons do go on and as both their careers do develop. Kyle Bradish is going to be starting a rehab assignment with the Baltimore Orioles very, very soon. He had a shoulder injury in spring training and has not pitched this year. This is great news, in my opinion, for the Orioles. Bradish is easily their second-best pitcher. Had a breakout season last year. Was really, really good. You bring him back into the rotation at full health, and he pitches like you think he can. You'll have him, Corbin Burns, Grayson Rodriguez, some of the other veteran guys, some of the other younger guys that have performed really well, like Dean Kramer, like John Means, in that rotation, and you suddenly become a force. I think a top three of Burns, Bradish, and Grayson Rodriguez can go up against anyone in the playoffs. You have the prospect capital to add someone else to that rotation, maybe Jesus Luzardo, a guy I think is pretty clearly going to be traded at the trade deadline. So, yeah, definitely something to watch as Bradish does recover from his injury with this rehab assignment. I think he's going to be a big part of the Orioles this year and brings a lot of stability to that rotation and brings a lot of depth there. So, yeah, definitely something I'm keeping my eyes on. Finally, we have Yoan Moncada. It is announced that he is out for 3 to 6 weeks after falling on his way to first base. Just a super unfortunate injury. I mean, he was literally running to first base and just fell and kind of blew out his legs. So, just something that is super sad. Moncada's in the last year of his contract. It looks like the writing's on the wall for him not to return to Chicago and the South Side. He, had a very interesting career with the White Sox. Didn't really live up to that full prospect potential after coming over in that huge Chris Sale trade. Dealt with a lot of injuries, had some months of being really good, was just overall a streaky player with the White Sox. So, yeah, something unfortunate that did happen. And just something, it just is unfortunate and sad that he didn't live up to his full potential with Chicago. and wasn't really a bust in my opinion because it wasn't really his fault. He just dealt with a lot of freak injuries and a lot of things that weren't under his control, but definitely did not live up to the name he had, and definitely did not live up to the reasons why he came over there and the allure he had as a top prospect coming over from Boston for an ace like Chris Sale. So yeah, a sad situation, but that's baseball. These things happen, so it's unfortunate, but it is what it is, unfortunately. So that was our segment 4 here, talking about some news stories around the league that I did want to touch upon. Talking about Shohei Ohtani as interpreter, Brandon Lau going on the injured list, Colton Wong signing with the Diamondbacks, Jefferson Cuero out for the year, Kyle Bradish starting a rehab assignment, and Yohan Moncada out for 3 to 6 months. All interesting stuff. So yeah, that was the end of our segment 4 and the end of our show today. I want to thank you guys so much for watching. You can follow us anywhere. You can follow us anywhere on social media, get content and updates: Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram. Make sure to hit the subscribe button. Make sure to hit follow on all social media. As I said, if you do subscribe on YouTube, please do as well. Hit the notification bell. You get notified not only when I post, but when every single other great content creator on this channel does post. So it would mean a lot. It helps everyone here at the network, and it helps me as well. So thank you guys so much for watching. Have a great day, and we'll see what baseball throws us tomorrow. Bye, guys.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day. Yeah, I'm tired of shit, and the coffee ain't hit yet, damn, ain't that great.